My name is Keith Hearn. I'm a photographer. I specialise in commercial, travel and people photography. 3 years ago I was diagnosed with throat cancer, and as a result of that wrote a book called Bangers and Mash, which was published in October. I basically was talking to my wife in the kitchen, and for no apparent reason just felt my neck here, and underneath there was a minuscule bump. My wife saw me do it and said, "What's that?" I said, "I don't know. It's not painful, anything at all, innocuous." And she said, "Better go and get it checked out." So I went to the doctors, who referred me on to the various specialists, and I had a biopsy taken and had an appointment booked to go back to discuss the results. I was sitting here at home on a Friday afternoon awaiting a business appointment to turn up when the phone rang, and it was this consultant specialist, and he said, "We've got results of your biopsy in, can you go down to the hospital in an hour and 15 minutes please?" I said, "No, I can't, because I've actually got a meeting." And he said, "No, you don't understand. Go down to the hospital in an hour and 15 minutes. When I put the phone down, it just dawned on me what had happened. I'd just been diagnosed with cancer. Well, having put the phone down, I literally fell apart mentally, because I'd never been through anything like that before, and suddenly I thought, am I going to live? You know, what's going to happen to my kid? What about my wife? And just collapsed mentally. It's the scariest thing I've ever been told in my life. And basically spent 2 to 3 days in a bit of a haze. And in fact, the day after my diagnosis, I had to take my daughter into hospital for, she was kept in overnight and then operated on. I stayed with her in hospital, and in the middle of the night woke up in a cold sweat. I'd just been dreaming and had been at my own wake. This was a reality check as to what games cancer diagnosis plays with your head. At that point I decided to do 2 things. One was to start to write down all the wacky thoughts that were going through my head, and secondly was I could do with some help on the mental strength side, because I guess this is going to be absolutely crucial. I had just met relatively recently at one of the networking events I go to a lady who is a life coach also specialising in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and picked up the phone to her and arranged to go in and see her and just start working on the whole area of how to keep positive through what wasn't a great deal of fun as treatment. That having been put in place, it's about a couple of days later, I reached the point where mentally it was a case of, right, well, you've got it, get over it. So, you know, change a big leap positive, and then start work with Helen on the mind side of things. And the next thing, of course, was the treatment. And it was the treatment consisted of an initial operation to get rid of the primary tumour, 2 5-day sessions of chemotherapy, 30 days of radiotherapy, including needing a mask to be made through which they can carry out the lasering. At the end of that stage, I had lost 2.5 stone because I couldn't eat for 6 weeks, and was generally in a mess physically and not very good mentally. Before this experience, to me, cancer was something that you heard about and read about. It was something that old people got and died of. My diagnosis was a very real world realisation that it could happen to anybody, and I was very mortal. And one of the most scariest things was touching that little lump and thinking, God, could that really kill me? And the answer was it could. And in fact, I wrote a book because I started off with the sort of mental falling apart, and it was just a good way, I found it quite therapeutic to write about my experiences. And taking it through to when I started to work with Helen, the NLP lady, and explained to her I was going to keep a diary and write a book about it, and she was quite amusing and said, "Who are you, and why not do what you're good at and do a photo diary?" And I thought it was a fantastic idea, and so took my camera into hospital as much as I could. And little did I realise at the time that the vast majority of the nursing fraternity were budding photographers themselves and had only too happy to help. And that's how the book started, really. And I continued from there, because I didn't know what cancer was, what it involved, what the side effects would be, how long it would take to get over, and figured that this could be of help to people who are going to be diagnosed. After all, some 30% of people are expected to face the same news that I got in 2007. You have cancer. It's not an easy thing to get your head around. And if this book can be of some assistance to anybody, then it's fantastic and it's worked.
Why is it?
It's called Bangers and Mash because I was actually working with somebody who'd had previous book experience, and we were trying to look for a title and chronological order, because he said, don't do it as a diary, you need a theme, which was obviously food and taste buds, because the radiotherapy stops you being able to eat, you lose your taste, you can't chew, and you need to be sipping at water 24/7, so you can't sleep properly either. Looking for a title, and we went through various key elements. And I said, what about the first mouthful of solid food that I had after I got over the radiotherapy? He said, well, what was that? It was Bangers and Mash. There's your book title. It's weird. It's like, I suppose the best way of putting it is, you feel like you joined a club. It's a big club, people who've got cancer. It's probably quite a big club. People have pulled through it. But the biggest thing is how it changes your perception of the future. And what is 20 years down track? Everybody talks about saving for pensions and all that kind of thing. Great plan. I'd never been sick for 30 years. And then this juggernaut hits you. It just changes your perspective on the future completely. Well, one of the main things it's taught me is, from a medical point of view, if you ever feel anything in your body that's not right, get it checked out. It might just save your life. In my case, it did. So I'm quite sensitive now to anything that's going on in my body that seems abnormal. And we'll always go and get it checked out. And other than that, the biggest change is how you view the future. Because, oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, lots of times if you go outside, it's a nice day for a change, like when summer appeared a couple of weeks ago. You just look at around and just go, oh, this is great. You know, this is so glad to be here, glad to be alive. And there are times when you look back and think, you know, you could have been history, mate. So you do value the moment much more than before. And you appreciate the fact that, or I appreciate the fact that I'm mortal, so you better get moving with all the stuff you want to do. Basically, it enhances your awareness of everything that's important to you, all the natural feelings towards your wife, towards my daughter, towards things you like doing, friends, relatives, all the sort of stuff that perhaps is taken for granted normally, is just much more aware of it.